Settle in, lower the lights. Let the room go quiet around you. Tonight, we follow a man whose name has outlived his bones, a warlord the old sagas called Ivar the Boneless. He was said to be a son of Ragnar Lothbrok, born in the cold northern dark, and even now, more than 11 centuries later, no one can agree on what his strange name truly meant. That not knowing is where our story lives. Picture a long hall in winter. Smoke hangs beneath the rafters. Firelight moves across the faces of hard men, and among them sits one who does not stand when the others stand. He is carried, borne into the hall and later into battle, upon a shield lifted by his warriors, and yet every man in that room falls silent when he begins to speak. This, the sagas tell us, was Ivar, the weakest body, the sharpest mind. The Norse called him Lausi, the boneless, and that single word has haunted historians ever since. Some believe it was literal, that Ivar was born with a condition that left his bones brittle as winter reeds, that his legs would not bear his weight, that a fall or a hard blow might shatter him where he stood. There is a name for such a thing today, a fragility of the bones present from birth. If the sagas are true, then here was a boy who could not walk to war and who conquered kingdoms anyway. Others say the name meant something quieter and crueler. That boneless was a whisper about his manhood, that Ivar left no children, took no wife, and the word was the cruelty of men who could wound him no other way. And there are those who say it was never about his body at all. That boneless meant supple, coiling, impossible to grip, a mind like a serpent that slips from every hand that reaches for it. A man without bones cannot be broken, because there is nothing rigid in him to break. We will never know which is true. Ivar took the answer with him into the dark, but whichever it was, the sagas agree on this. What he lacked in the body, he repaid in cunning. There is an old story told of him, that he once asked a king for only as much land as a single ox hide could cover, a small thing, a joke almost. And the king laughed and agreed. And then Ivar took the hide and cut it, round and round, into one thread thinner than a bootlace, until it stretched long enough to ring a whole hilltop. Upon that ground, the story says, he raised a stronghold. Whether it happened or not hardly matters. The tale survived because it tells you exactly who men believed Ivar to be. Give him an inch of anything, and he would find the thread inside it and pull. So keep that image close as we go on. Not a giant swinging an axe, a still figure, carried, watching, and thinking 3 moves ahead of everyone who thinks him helpless. In the year 865, a fleet came out of the Grey Sea and fell upon the shores of England. The chroniclers of that land called it, with dread, the Great Heathen Army, and Ivar was among those who led it. We will not dwell tonight on all that followed, on the kingdoms that guttered out one by one like candles in a draught. That is a longer, darker road for another night. Tonight, we are following the man, not the war. And so we come, at last, to a quiet village in the English Midlands, and to the ground beneath a small stone church. The village is called Repton. In the winter of 873, the Great Heathen Army stopped there. They dug in beside the river, threw up an earthwork, and made the churchyard of the Anglo-Saxon saints into a fortress of their own. And when they finally moved on, they left something behind in that soil, something that would sleep undisturbed for more than 1,000 years, until the spades of modern archaeologists broke the surface and the ground gave up its dead. Beneath a low mound near the church, they found a chamber, and inside it, arranged with grim and deliberate care, lay the bones of some 260 souls, a jumble of arms and skulls and shattered ribs, stacked and sorted around a single central grave. Nearly all of them were men, strong men, tall men, by the measure of their age, their bones thick with the marks of hard living and harder fighting. The remains of an army gathered into one dark room in the earth. For a long while, the bones kept a secret that seemed to make no sense. When they were first tested, the ages of the dead appeared to scatter across centuries, as if the mound had swallowed the wrong people from the wrong times. But the sea, it turned out, had told a lie. These were men who had eaten from the ocean, and a diet rich in fish can make old bones read older still. When the scholars corrected for it, the scatter collapsed into a single grim moment. One winter, one company of the dead. The winter of the Great Heathen Army at Repton. And at the heart of it all lay one man. He had been laid down with the honours of a warrior king. A hammer of Thor rested at his throat. A boar's tusk had been placed between his legs, and beside him the claw of a wild beast, token, some believe, to make whole in the next world a body that had been unmade in this one, for his wounds in death were terrible. Around him, his men. Above him, the earth. It is the grave of someone who mattered enough that hundreds were gathered to lie in his shadow. And here is where the whisper begins. Here is the question that will keep you turning it over in the dark. Could this be Ivar? The sagas say the Boneless died in England in these very years, and was buried in a great mound by the sea of men who feared and followed him. Repton was his army's camp in the season of his passing. The central figure was a leader, buried like a lord, surrounded by his host. Everything fits, the place, the time, the honour, the crowd of the loyal dead. And yet, nothing proves it. There is no name carved in that stone, no runes to close the case. Only a nameless great man in the ground, and an army arranged around him like petals around a black heart, and a legend that says a boneless king lies somewhere in English soil, still waiting to be found. Perhaps it is him. Perhaps the man who could not walk to war lies there yet, beneath a quiet churchyard, with the bones of his followers stacked around him for company through the long centuries. Or perhaps Ivar sleeps somewhere else entirely, in a grave the plough has long since scattered, his true resting place, a thing the world will never learn. That is the shape of him in the end, a man defined by an absence, boneless we call him, though we cannot say what the word meant. A body that failed, and a mind that never did. A grave that may be his or may belong to some other forgotten lord. Everywhere you reach for Ivar, the thread slips and coils and pulls away into the dark. There is a strange comfort in it, if you let there be, that some things stay buried, that not every question is answered, not every name recovered, not every grave made to give up who it holds. The Boneless understood that better than anyone. Give the world a single hide of certainty about him, and he cut it into a thread too thin to hold. So let him rest, wherever he lies. Let the churchyard keep its quiet, and let the last thought before sleep be that soft one, that beneath the green and ordinary fields of the world, the old dark is always there, patient and unhurried, keeping its secrets a little longer. Rest now, and make history dark